Hi everyone, welcome back. Asobo iniBuilds released the first helicopter in the Famous Flyer or Local Legend series, and this is Local Legend 14, the Bell 47J Ranger. It's a great vintage helicopter, and I'm finding it much more engaging than I ever expected. It was 1956, Elvis and Fats Domino were on the radio, the Korean War was over, and big band and swing were giving way to rock and roll and blues. The J model represented the pinnacle or last stage of evolution and advancement and lessons learned in the Bell 47 program. It was the most advanced Bell 47. I found a lot of really cool information digging into and learning about the history of this aircraft. I recognize it from the opening scenes of Air America with Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr. from when I was younger. I also found out not only was it in Thunderball, but there was also a movie that Elvis did called Paradise Hawaiian Style that was basically the story of a ex-military pilot that started a helicopter tour business in Hawaii. I decided to check out the new World Update in the Caribbean and also a few places in Alaska to do some search and rescue with the Air Force skin that's up on flightsim.to. I really wanted to find a reason to fly the skid version more, but just out of realism and the way I like to sim, I ended up flying the float version more, just in the areas that I'm flying around the islands in the Caribbean, flying in the Aleutians up in Alaska where there's a lot of water. If not for more places to land, just for safety, to have floats in case you have to auto-rotate in the water. I really like that skid flex. It had a good sense of realism when you sat down and the skids are stationary and the body of the helicopter wobbled a little bit. Okay, we'll do a quick startup and take it for a flight. The startup on this one's pretty easy. It's a very basic helicopter. You can just see me go through battery, alternator, fuel, put the mixture to full rich, turn on the beacon light, and hit the starter. So this is the only time I saw the needle split starting it up. You can see the idle kind of wobbling a little bit as it brings the rotor RPM up to match the needles. Once they matched, it held the RPM that you brought it to, but they stayed together. So I would typically do a run-up at 2500 RPM and check the mags and check the carb heat and make sure that there's appropriate RPM drop. And then I would do a clutch check where you roll off the throttle quickly to make sure that the needles split, to make sure that the clutch disconnects the engine from the rotor immediately if it fails. You don't want anything dragging or slowing down your rotor, so that has to happen. And if it doesn't work, that's a failed test. So I had an issue there with that test where the needles didn't split when you roll off the throttle. So obviously I couldn't attempt to auto-rotate. I find the handling really good. The flight dynamics felt great in a hover. It responds and reacts the way that it should, and the way that it should to control inputs and the magnitude. At least I believe for this type of helicopter in my reading, I found that things are kind of on a delay in a sluggish manner, even more so than like a standard two-bladed helicopter. Just due to the nature of the rotor head design and the stabilizer or flybar that is attached to the rotor. I did need left pedal as I pulled up on the collective, so as you increase torque, It's a counterclockwise rotating system, so you increase left pedal to counteract that torque. I found the pedal touch to be very, very light. Either this model has very sensitive and very good, or sensitive pedals with very good authority, or there's a little bit in the flight model that needs to be worked on there. I did notice that if I changed the gross weight, that there was not a difference in the amount of pedal that I needed. And that's something that should occur. If you add weight, it's going to require more lift to get that weight off the ground, which means more drag, which means you have to increase the RPM of the engine, which increases the torque. That goes through the airframe, so you need more left pedal. That's just the nature of all helicopters. But watching some of the videos I found online of the real-world counterpart, I did see that in a couple of the videos the pilot waggled the tail a little bit similar to how I found the tail when I was flying it. So I don't know if it's that typical to this model or new pilots getting familiar with it. So that's something that you'll notice, like when you, as a new pilot, when you go from one helicopter to another, even the same make and model, they're not all exactly the same. I had a couple different R44s at the school that I trained at where the pedal feel and touch was just very different, and they were both R44 Raven 2s, fuel injected, same model helicopter, but the pedals felt very different. Anyways, to say the pedal feel is good on this aircraft, but it felt to me like hopping into a new aircraft where I didn't quite have the pedal feel right. Other than those two issues, the engine direct connection to the clutch and rotor RPM, and the lack of additional torque with added weight, I found the flight model to be very good and respond and react to the way that I would expect from this vintage era helicopter. The modeling, texturing, and mapping work are exceptional as well. It's very good. It's right up there with, I would say, HPG and TNCM models as far as how good it looks, approaching Carinado type texturing and quality. For the price of $15 US, or if you have the premium version, you get the discount $10 US. It's a bargain for what it is. Looking into this helicopter, I found a lot of interesting information on the H model, which was basically a Bell 47 that they worked to make an executive helicopter out of, and they streamlined it and put a monocoque tail and fuselage on it. It was said that Larry Bell liked the look better. He didn't like the look of the open tail boom, and that's what led to the design that you see now, which is kind of the predecessor of modern executive helicopters. Probably the most interesting thing that I found, or strangest, was the Kawasaki KH4, which was a licensed version built in Japan, where they basically took the forward cabin of the J model and mated it to the tail boom and fuel tanks of the G model. So, you know, it had the dual saddle tanks from the G model with the open frame tail boom, and then the cabin sitting on the front with the curved landing gear. Very strange looking compared to what we usually see, but it sold really well in Australia. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.